We're all talking about the lives of the British royal family, but today we're going to be talking about Saudi Arabian royalty. What is it like growing up as one of the thousands of Saudi royal princesses? We'll let you know what their lives are really like. But before we begin, make sure to click on the subscribe button and turn on your notifications for more videos from TheTalko. You may be surprised by just how much Saudi princesses are interested in life in America. Jane Amelia Larson worked as a chauffeur in Los Angeles and was tasked with shuttling around members of the royal family. At the time, women were not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, ironically enough, but many mothers sought out Larson's services because they didn't trust their daughters around men. The princesses often spoke of how confining their lives at home were and how much they enjoyed the freedom they experienced in the United States. One of their favorite hobbies was simply strolling around the shopping mall and mingling with different types of people. But of course, these princesses never went anywhere without a full contingent of security agents and servants. These girls would frequently make massive purchases but didn't actually touch any money themselves. They had servants on call for that sort of thing. The princess would simply point at what she wanted and servants would bend over backwards to procure them. These girls had never learned some of the many life skills most of us take for granted, such as paying for your own purchases. Among the sea of Saudi princesses, Princess Amira Al Tawil stands out for many reasons. She was born into a middle-class family and made the acquaintance of Prince Al Walid bin Talal when she was interviewing him at age 18. A mere 9 months later, the two were married, making her Princess Amira Al Tawil and the fourth of the prince's wives. Humorously enough, Amira means princess in Arabic, so she essentially became the princess. Although she had married into royalty, this princess wasn't interested in simply sitting back and enjoying her luxurious life. She graduated magna cum laude from the University of New Haven, majoring in business administration. When she was younger, she had dreamed of becoming a heart surgeon, but now she focused her talents on helping people in a different way. While she was married to Prince Al Walid, she founded the Walid bin Talal Foundation, now known as the Al Walid Philanthropies. The organization is dedicated to helping people in Saudi Arabia and around the world. This non-profit organization aims to alleviate poverty, provide disaster relief, and empower women. She also co-founded Tasami, a volunteer network which encourages social entrepreneurs. As if all of that wasn't enough, she also served as an ambassador for the Perkins School for the Blind in Watertown, Massachusetts. But while her advocacy work was earning her recognition all over the world, her marriage was not working out. Prince Al Walid and Princess Amira obtained a divorce quietly after only 5 years of marriage. The two presented a united front and claimed everything was amicable between the two of them. Being a divorced woman in Saudi Arabia carries a serious stigma, and it's one this princess hopes to change. She claims she wants to prove to women that it's possible to be respected and independent even after divorce. Princess Amira knows that there is a lot of work to be done in order to obtain equal rights for women in Saudi Arabia. Although they can now drive as of 2017, daughters can only inherit up to half of what sons inherit. And during a divorce, women are not allowed to retain custody of their children if their sons are at least 7 and their daughters are at least 9. Needless to say, these are things Princess Amira is trying to change. In October 2018, Princess Amira walked down the aisle again in a private ceremony at the Château de Vaux-le-Vicomte in Paris. This time, she wed billionaire Khalifa bin Bouti Al Muhairi, the chairman of Abu Dhabi-based investment firm, the KBBO Group. Regardless of who she is married to, we have no doubt she will continue her impressive and admirable philanthropic efforts. By this point, you may have noticed that Princess Amira doesn't dress the way one might expect her to. Sure, her clothing is always very tasteful and conservative, but she chooses not to wear a traditional abaya and often leaves her hair uncovered. When you're a member of the royal family, you are allowed much more freedom than the average person in Saudi Arabia. Her manner of dressing is a political statement intended to enforce her dreams of equality. According to Amira, she is seeking evolution, not revolution, and is hoping for a gradual societal change. Of course, none of this would have been possible without her now ex-husband, Prince Al Walid. He's also known for his support of women's rights and hired many to work for his investment firm, Kingdom Holdings. Not only does he hire women, but he allows his employees to wear designer clothes bought with their clothing allowance, rather than traditional outfits. With her generosity and strength, Amira exemplifies many of the traits we think of when the word princess comes to mind. But not all Saudi princesses have a pristine reputation. Princess Maha bint Mohammed bin Ahmad Al Sudari had an epic shopping spree during her time in Paris, but there was just one problem: she refused to pay for it. In the past, this princess made many trips to luxurious Paris retailers and always paid her bills promptly and in full. But on one occasion, she visited over 30 retailers and spent a total of $20 million. Some claim her debts were settled by the Saudi embassy, but her brother-in-law, the late King Abdullah, was reportedly not impressed by her behavior. When she eventually returned to Saudi Arabia, she was confined to her palace and forbidden to leave. In 2011, she escaped back to Paris, this time racking up a $7 million hotel bill by keeping herself and her staff in 41 rooms for months. When confronted about her bill, she attempted to claim diplomatic immunity. This time, when she she was sent back to Saudi Arabia, she was officially barred from leaving again. Of course, there are huge advantages to being a Saudi princess compared to being your average Saudi citizen, but in many ways, the quality of a princess's life still depends on the men in her life. Something as simple as riding a bicycle is something many of us take for granted. Women in Saudi Arabia weren't allowed to ride bicycles until 2013, and now they can only ride them in certain recreational areas while wearing proper clothing and while accompanied by a man. Women aren't allowed to obtain a passport or even travel around Saudi Arabia without express permission from a close male relative or husband. According to Princess Amira, one of the serious problems facing women in Saudi Arabia is the lack of representation. Until 2017, women in Saudi Arabia weren't allowed to attend school or visit a doctor unless they obtained permission beforehand. So it's perhaps unsurprising that being able to vote in any capacity is also a relatively new thing for women in Saudi Arabia. Amira claims that Saudi society is extremely conservative and private, and effecting change is extremely difficult. Many men believe it's undignified for women to work, especially someone as important as a princess. As we mentioned earlier, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal is a notorious supporter of women's rights, which allowed Princess Amira to become the outspoken advocate she is today. She called out Saudi Basic Industries Corporation CEO Mohammed Al-Mahdi, demanding to know why his company hadn't welcomed women into their workforce. In his defense, Al-Mahdi claimed to employ 50 women out of his 20,000 employees. Princess Amira has indeed been fortunate, but she hasn't forgotten all of the other women who are struggling out there. She advocates for programs designed to integrate Saudi women into the workforce. In Saudi Arabia, 85% of those unemployed are female, and only about 160,000 women work. Of course, this is a record-breaking high, but it's still nowhere near where Amira believes they should be. And of the women who are employed, the majority of them are in the education sector. It's incredibly rare for Saudi women to seek careers in information technology or the finance sector. This isn't good enough for Princess Amira, who claims women must be able to contribute to society in ways equal to men. Traditionalists believe men should be the breadwinners, while women take care of the home. But this modern princess believes this needs to be a thing of the past. In addition to being supported by men, Princess Amira claims women need to lift up one another and celebrate their successes. She has gone on record stating, "As far as I'm concerned, not every woman should work, but every woman who wants to work should be able to work." While Princess Amira is fighting for the rights of women, not all Saudi princesses have that option. Princess Al-Naud Al-Fayez married the now deceased King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz when she was only 15 years old. She went on to have 4 daughters, Princesses Sahar, Maha, Hala, and Jawahar. Growing up, the girls lived privileged lives. They recalled taking vacations to luxurious ski resorts in Europe, going on epic shopping sprees, and receiving lavish presents from their royal father. But eventually, the king grew enraged with his wife's inability to produce a male heir. Although he had 30 wives and 35 children during his life, this still wasn't enough to satisfy him. Princess Al-Fayez claims that while life as a princess had its share of luxuries, after a while she found it incredibly monotonous. And to make matters worse, she was a captive of her husband, who she claims would often abuse her. Eventually, he grew dissatisfied with her inability to produce a son, so he served her with divorce papers 2 years after he'd filed for divorce. You see, in Saudi Arabia, men don't need women's permission to obtain a divorce. A wife can be totally blindsided with a divorce which has already taken place. Desperate to escape, she had to make the agonizing decision to leave her daughters behind and flee to London with the help of a women's rights group. According to the princess, she believed her ex-husband would soon release her daughters in order to spare himself the embarrassment, but he chose not to. And because he had all of their passports, there was nothing the 4 princesses could do. Although they were once living in luxury, they found themselves captives at one of their father's compounds. According to Sahar, Maha, Hala, and Jawahar, their father would sometimes deny them food, water, or electricity in order to punish them. The princesses had once dreamed of going to college and marrying princes, but instead they found themselves prisoners forced to obey the whims of their royal father. During rare interviews, the princesses claimed they were being punished for advocating for women's rights and refusing to compromise on their beliefs. When asked to comment on the situation, Saudi officials simply said that it was a private matter. Although their father has passed away, the plight of these princesses remains a mystery. While it's easy to look at Princess Amira and see someone who has lived a privileged life, it's important we don't forget that she had an option not to fight. It would have been easy for her to sit back and enjoy a life of extreme leisure, but her conscience refused to let her do so. She believes that it's of the utmost importance that women and the next generation lend their voices to the important cause of women's rights in Saudi Arabia and all over the world. Although she has many supporters, there are some who think she should stay silent. To her detractors, Princess Amira has said they can criticize as long as they want, and we are not trying to take the rights of others. We are trying to acquire our own rights peacefully. She claims that although being a princess has given her an opportunity, it hasn't changed who she is as a person. What do you think about the lives of Saudi princesses? Do you think it would be easy to live a life of luxury, or would you find the position way too confining? Be sure to share your thoughts with us in the comments section, and then click on the subscribe button to get the latest and greatest videos from us here at TheTalko. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.